A bet at minus 110 risks 110 to win 100. Divide 110 by 210, and the answer is 52.381%. That is the rate a bettor has to hit before the arithmetic turns positive, and Stephen Levitt puts the same number at 0.5238 in a footnote of his 2004 paper on gambling markets. Every underdog win rate in this analysis gets read against that figure. Most of the rates quoted on betting sites don't reach it. Here is the part that goes wrong most often. A cover rate of 51.8% sounds like a winner. It returns roughly negative 1.1% per unit staked, and no quantity of citation underneath it changes that sign. The mistake is arithmetic, and it survives because the number looks like it clears when it doesn't. So the useful question is narrower than whether underdogs cover. Which ones cover often enough to pay, and what do the samples behind them actually support? Next, what a cover rate has to clear. Converting a cover rate into a return takes one line of arithmetic, and running it before naming the rate is the difference between analysis and decoration. At 50%, a bettor paying minus 110 returns negative 4.55% per unit staked. Coin flips lose, faster than most people expect. At 51.8%, the figure improves to negative 1.11%, still a loss. At 52.4, the return is positive 0.04%, which is the break-even point restated with rounding. Nobody has to source that table. A page reporting 51% and calling it a winner has already failed, whatever its footnotes look like. Next, 21 seasons of NFL spreads. Levitt's third table covers 4,793 NFL games across 21 seasons ending in 2001. Favorites covered the spread 48.2% of the time. Mirror that, and the underdog side sits near 51.8% once pushes come out, which is a loss. 21 years of football, and a bettor taking every underdog on the board would have bled about a point of return per unit staked the entire time. The direction of the bias is real. The size of it isn't enough. Set that against the range betting content usually quotes, which runs 50.5 to 52% and arrives already labeled as an edge. Every value inside that range loses money at minus 110. The label is doing work the arithmetic cannot support. Next, where the number actually moves. Splitting those same games by venue produces a different picture, and venue turns out to be doing most of the work. Visiting favorites covered 46.7% from the same Levitt table. Mirror it again, and home underdogs land near 53.3%, worth about positive 1.75% per unit staked. That one clears. It's a small number attached to a stated population over a stated period, which is more than most cover rates on the internet manage. His contest data points the same way. Across 2,286 wagers placed on home underdogs, those bets won 57.7% of the time, worth positive 10.15%. That figure needs a caveat rather than a victory lap. The 285 entrants chose which home underdogs to back, so it reflects their selections and not the full population of home dogs. He also reports 53.2% for college football home underdogs and 53.0% for NBA home underdogs in 2002. 53.0 returns positive 1.18%. 3 competitions, 1 direction, all of them clustered just past break-even. Next, why the line sits where it does. The usual story about line movement says books shade a number to pull money onto the quiet side and even out their exposure. Levitt tested that story and found the opposite. His sample was a handicapping contest run during the 2001 NFL season. 285 bettors, 242 games, 19,770 wagers into a $71,250 pool. Favorites took 60.6% of the bets, with a standard error of 0.009. In close to half the games, 2/3 of the action piled onto one side. A book trying to balance would have drowned. Instead, the books priced the tilt in and held the position. Levitt calculates a gross profit rate of 6.16% against the 49.45% better win rate his model predicts, compared with 5% from a balanced book. He puts the uplift at 20 to 30%, with his detailed calculation landing on 23. The reason is unglamorous. Books forecast better than their customers, so taking a side pays them. Next, basketball and the big favorite. Basketball carries the cleanest single result anywhere in this literature. Paul and Weinbach examined 7 NBA seasons, 1995 through 2002, in the Journal of Sports Economics. They found systematic overbetting of favorites. Backing big underdogs rejected the null of a fair bet, and backing big home underdogs also rejected the null of no profitability. Not a small claim, and it went through peer review. Set against it, the same two authors took Levitt's price-setting model to NBA data in 2008 and got mixed results, diverging from the NFL finding. Both papers are old, and the league inside them has since changed its pace and its rest patterns. The 2005 result is the strongest evidence on this page, and it still isn't strong enough to trust it holding today. Next, baseball and hockey. Moneyline competitions don't use a spread, so an underdog has to win outright, and the question becomes whether the price on that outcome is generous enough to pay. The honest answer is that nobody has settled it. Linda and Bill Woodland, in the Journal of Finance in 1994, found the favorite long-shot bias familiar from racetracks runs backwards in baseball. Favorites overbet, underdogs underbet. Their own conclusion was that the deviation isn't large enough to pay once commission comes out, and their 2003 update on the 1990 through 1999 seasons found it virtually unchanged and called it permanent. Then, Gandar, Zuber, Johnson, and Dare re-examined it in Applied Economics in 2002, and the anomaly did not survive contact. They corrected the commission estimate and recomputed the test statistics. Slight underdogs still came out under bet, but the efficiency null held, and their conclusion was that the evidence doesn't support calling it a true market inefficiency. Hockey runs the same argument with the same people in it, and it ends the same way, in a 2004 re-examination by Gandar, Zuber, and Johnson, which puts baseball and hockey at the weak end of the underdog case. Betting content routinely calls baseball the underdog bettor's best friend. The published record points the other way, and the flattering version is the one that circulates. Next, the case against all of it. Levitt's own data holds the sharpest objection to everything above. Sorting his contest bets by popularity, the least popular quartile performed worst of the four, at 46.6%. That finishes below every row on the return table, including the coin flip. The coefficients came back jointly insignificant, so a simple fade rule applied across his sample would have found nothing to fade. He also found no persistence of skill among the 285 entrants. The spread of outcomes matched what independent coin tosses produce, and how a bettor had done by a given week carried no weight for the weeks after it. Between them, contest bettors won 50.1%, under the threshold. Then there's the age of it. The NFL spread data stops in 2001, the NBA work in 2002, the baseball update in 1999. Books have had more than 20 years and far more sharp money since. Sample thinning is the quieter problem. Home underdogs of 7 or more coming off a loss might show a striking record across a couple hundred games, and a couple hundred games cannot separate a genuine 53% from a 50% coin flip that ran hot. Thousands of settled bets have to land before 1 point of difference pulls clear of noise, which is more bets than most people place in a decade. Levitt has one more line worth sitting with. He concludes that books distort prices about as far as they can without making blanket underdog betting profitable. That reads as a constraint rather than an invitation. The gap between 51.8 and 52.381 is not an accident, and it holds across 2 decades of NFL data because someone on the other side of the counter is paid to keep it there. Whatever is left over lives in a subset narrow enough that it wasn't worth pricing, and narrow enough that years pass before anyone learns whether it was there at all. If this was useful, hit the like button and subscribe. The full analysis, with sources, is at LoserWins.com.